Okay, Rohan, we're live.
Thanks a lot,
Over to
Shivani.
you.
So it's now 5:03, so we can start. Par, please, why don't you go ahead?
Thank you so much, Rohan. And I remember in July 2019, when we held our first members call, and there was a lot of interest in how we would continue them and develop them over a period of time. I'm really excited that today we have our entire team. And when I say entire team, it has more than 10 people today. And this is our 9th members call. So we have actually been able to develop it over a period of time, not only to show what work we have done, but also what social impact it's having. I'd like to thank our donors, members, and especially the hundreds of volunteers who help out in several of our projects, from building websites to providing pro bono help in cities all across India. And I turn this over now for actually chairing of the call to Rohan Garg, who's my colleague. Rohan Garg has been for 1.5 years working here, doing most of the work behind the parliamentary engagement and the public consultation responses you've seen from IFF. And Rohan, please do take this up now.
Thank you, Par. So once again, I'd like to welcome all our members. Really grateful to you for all for the support you provide us. And in keeping with, I think, what's gone on over the last couple of months, I think what we want to talk about on this call is exploitation. And as you'll see through the course of this presentation, there are a lot of tendencies and forces that are pushing and pulling on us as digital users. On one hand, you have governments that are extremely aggressive and overzealous in their attempt to secure us, and with sort of a significant amount of overreach is taking place. And on the other hand, you have private companies who are waiting at every step to grab our data and exploit it whenever they can, and sometimes in collusion with the government, sometimes not. But it's the number of stories you read over this last couple of months should inform you of that. And then on top of that, you actually have people beyond these two sets who are act as cheerleaders for either of these tendencies. And I think the point we want to try and we try and build out through our work as well is that there's a need to identify and become a sort of collective unit of digital users who recognize that all these issues have a common theme, and that is control over our data. Now, that questions about the control over that data are extremely important, and I think understanding that in and of itself would be a massive step towards counteracting these tendencies that we run across every day on our digital lives. With that sort of setup, I would now like to hand it over to the litigation team headed by my colleague Tanmay Singh. Tanmay, over to you.
Thanks so much, Rohan. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to these quarterly calls. I'm Tanmay. I'm the litigation counsel at the Internet Freedom Foundation. And I have the opportunity to sort of manage the legal team here. Now, this quarter has seen several victories and challenges because of a sudden third wave. Litigation matters slowed down for about approximately a month. So this quarter has been more like a sixth. Nevertheless, we have persevered. Our team size has grown. Our docket strength has grown. Litigation is a high effort, high impact path. Wins are incremental. Efforts have to be sustained. Still, every quarter, we are able to talk about good orders that we have been able to secure from courts. Last quarter, you will recall that it was in the Madras High Court, where in DM Krishna versus Union of India, the Madras High Court had affirmed a Bombay High Court decision to stay some of the major operative parts of the IT rules as they applied to digital news media and OTT platforms. This quarter, we have had some good news coming in from the Calcutta High Court, where late night on Sunday, we received news that an internet shutdown has been ordered in approximately 7 districts, 27 blocks in 7 districts of North Bengal for the next 10 days, of which 8 days were to be affected, and internet was to be shut down for 4 hours a day, which is basically half a working day, and nothing in the evening. So we immediately sort of sprung into action. We saw this as an opportunity, which I'll tell you why, is that it was on for 10 days. And very rarely do you see that. Usually what we have seen is that governments impose internet shutdowns for approximately a day or so, and they announce the order the day before that. So nobody really has a chance to be able to go to court, which is one of the reasons why there have been approximately 550 instances of internet shutdowns in the last 5 years or so, but there have only been 2 orders from high courts talking about sort of ordering a stay or removing the internet shutdown. Now, we noticed that this was going to be on for the next 10 days. So we immediately, the next morning on Monday, we drafted a petition. We sent it over to our Calcutta High Court Local Council. They were able to file it for us by Wednesday, which is the 3rd day of the internet shutdown. We were before court. By Thursday, which is the 4th day of the internet shutdown, the High Court had ordered a stay on the internet shutdown, which the government was not able to remedy by issuing a fresh internet shutdown order. What that basically means is that
I think Tanmay is having some troubles with his audio. No, Tanmay, we can't hear you.
What about now? Sorry.
Yes, now we can.
Okay, my apologies. I'm so sorry for that technical glitch. Where was I? I think you must have lost me around the time I was talking about how there have been 550 instances of internet shutdowns, but only 2 good orders. Now, why that happens is that internet shutdowns are usually ordered for 24 hours or so, then they lapse, and by the time you can draft and file a petition and be before court, the issue becomes a little bit academic and in the past. We saw that the internet shutdowns were ordered for the next 10 days. We were able to start in the morning. We drafted a petition, sent it over to our Calcutta High Court Council, who were able to file it the next day, be before court by Wednesday. And by Thursday, the internet shutdown had been cancelled. And the government was unable to remedy that by ordering a fresh internet shutdown. What that meant was that only 3 days out of the planned 8 days saw internet shutdowns. And the people of North Bengal were able to access the internet for a total of 5 days, which they would otherwise not have been able to if we didn't have the support that we had received in that matter. Now, that had a real world impact. I think Gyan can show us on the next slide. From people who lived in those areas and wouldn't have been able to work or study for those times. Now, the timings of the internet shutdowns were 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. now, which is basically midday. And we were able to sort of remedy that. It's these sort of victories that you get, which don't not only act as precedential value in other cases, but also actually have a positive impact on the lives of the people who are on the ground and who are affected by these sort of orders. So on that note, I'm going to hand it over to my colleagues, starting with Krishnesh, to tell you about some of the other matters that we have been pursuing in this quarter and what's been happening in them. Krishnesh?
Thank you so much, Tanmay. As Tanmay mentioned, every quarter we do get a few orders which are in our favor, and there's one more which happened this quarter. This is also in line with the theme of this call, which is exploitation. So both the cases, Pegasus and SQ Masood versus State of Telangana, involve intervention in our private lives by allegedly state entities in the case of Pegasus, and definitely state entities in the case of SQ Masood. In Pegasus, as all of you know, there was reporting by media houses in July of last year where they revealed that a spyware was being used on Indian citizens. The Supreme Court in October constituted a committee, and that committee is investigating. Recently, the committee reached out to us and asked us for our inputs on the surveillance framework in India and how is it that it can improve. Before the committee, we've also been assisting people who have been affected by Pegasus, according to Amnesty and Citizens Lab. SQ Masood is an interesting case. It's a case which relates to the facial recognition, to the deployment of facial recognition technology in the state of Telangana. We have filed a petition there. It's the first petition in India challenging the deployment of FRT. A lot of the petition is based on fantastic work which Anushka has done as a part of Project Panoptic. And we hope that this results in a decision as soon as possible, because in Hyderabad, the police, the law enforcement is using facial recognition technology aggressively to monitor people, to identify people, to store and collect their data. And it's especially being used in areas where vulnerable communities reside. So both these cases are extremely important, and we anticipate developments in them in the upcoming months. And hopefully in next quarter, we are able to show you tangible results in both of these cases. With that, I would hand over the mic to Anandita, who can talk about the other cases we have worked upon, and also the incredible DPDC project which she manages.
Hello, everybody. So the next two cases I'm going to talk about deal with internet shutdowns and e-surveillance. The first case is basically a petition that was filed in the Guwahati High Court challenging the constitutionality of telecom suspension rules. Now, these rules are basically used by governments to, suspend internet. And you may have read about this pretty often, how internet is being suspended to prevent cheating, to avoid protests, etc. So the arbitrary trend has been such that petitions were being filed to challenge its constitutionality. One such petition was filed in the Guwahati High Court, like I mentioned. IFF in that petition has filed an intervention application in order to assist the court to deal with legal issues. This intervention application was admitted in this quarter, and we have filed detailed submissions before the court. The hearings are going to start on Monday, and hopefully during the next quarter, we'll have some good news for you about the impact that it has had. The next and the last matter that I am going to talk about is relates to e-surveillance. So under the IT Act, the government has the power to order for decryption, interception, etc. of the information that is being relayed between two computer resources. So we asked the MHA, that is the Ministry of Home Affairs, regarding the number of orders they've passed since 2018. This was denied to us firstly on the grounds of national security. And later the MHA said that they haven't been actually maintaining this data. So we took this up before the CIC, that is the Central Information Commission, saying that the MHA has been changing grounds and taking new grounds. So in a welcoming order, the CIC actually admonished the CPIO, that is the Central Public Information Officer of the MHA, for raising new grounds. And they've asked them to, say this in an affidavit to make sure that no data is actually maintained. We are continuing to pursue this information for you, and hopefully we'll have something soon. Moving on to the digital Patrika defense project. Jan, can you please move the slide? Yeah, thank you. So the DPDC project was initiated by IFF in the month of September. It's been over 6 months that we've been doing this. We continue to provide pro bono legal aid to journalists through the clinic, and almost 26 journalists have been able to get aid from us on issues ranging from defamation, sedition, phone tapping, personal harassment, etc. And we will continue to do this. Now I have a very good news to share with you. We have a new member in our team, and I'm very thrilled to introduce to you Amla. Amla, mic to you.
Thanks so much, Anandita. Hi, everyone. I've just recently joined the IFF team remotely in their litigation team, and I will be joining them physically as well in Delhi in office from Monday. I'm really excited to be here. And like all of you, I've actually just been following IFF's work through their social media and their blogs and everything till now. So I'm glad I get to sort of be on the other side, and I hope I get to interact with members who support IFF's work more closely in the future. Yeah, back to you, Rohan.
So sorry. Thanks a lot, Amla. So members, that was our litigation team. We really do appreciate all the work they do, and hopefully they'll keep bringing us these important victories in court for the next couple of years as well. Now, members, we've turned towards the policy vertical. So I'll start here. In keeping with our larger theme, we have seen a spate of issues that deal with the exploitation of Indian citizens' data. But first, we'll go to the consultations. So over the last quarter, we've had about 4 consultations. I'll run you through them right now. The first one was a big one called the India Digital Ecosystem Architecture 2.0. Now, you may have heard that the Indian government is building out these many stacks, so health stacks, agri stacks, even India stacks across various sectors. And the underlying data architecture, so the way the various pieces and components of the data sharing ecosystem will interact, actually stems from this paper. And in our comments, we tried to put forth a few sort of what we felt was fundamental points. One was that all of this was happening without any fundamental legislative backing. As we know, the Personal Data Protection Bill is still with Parliament. Another point we raised was that there's a lot of concerns about to the extent to which users' consent would be taken, when this data would be shared, as well as how this would interact with market actors and existing market asymmetries when it comes to this data. Closely linked to this consultation was the draft India Data Accessibility and Use Policy. This was an even more contentious policy, and I'll get to why. So, of course, if India dealt with the architecture, this sort of dealt with the rules under which you could access the data in that architecture. Now, the issue here is, of course, some of the issues here are the same. So, of course, the lack of legislative backing, issues of consent, and as we also pointed out, the primacy of revenue generation over protecting user privacy as it was being enshrined in this policy. But perhaps the more egregious thing here was that the entire consultation process for this policy was marked by errors. And this involves literal drafts being changed surreptitiously without any public information. We were in fact able to only understand this by looking at the Wayback Machine, which had different copies, one of which mysteriously vanished. So that's something that I think it was very important that we were able to respond to. And in fact, I would like to note that one of the later copies of the draft India Data Accessibility and Use Policy actually incorporated some of our comments. So in a certain sense, we did win. We did have some win, though of course the fact that this happened to such a manner is abominable. If you look at it from the perspective of parliamentary government procedure. And so we will continue to push redouble our efforts to make them more transparent there. Gyan, could you switch the slide, please? There were two other consultations that we engaged in. One was the regulatory framework for promoting data economy, the establishment of data centers, CDNs, and internet exchanges in India. And there our broad comments were linked to a consultation the TRAI had held earlier, which was about net neutrality, and it was about the need for establishing a multi-stakeholder net neutrality body that would help regulate net neutrality in India. And though it was just sort of to remind the TRAI of its responsibilities, which they have evaded over the last couple of years, that was our focus. And of course, there was the framework for fairness assessment of AI and ML systems. And there our main intervention was to ensure that AI and ML are used for purposes that genuinely enhance the exercise of Indian citizens' fundamental rights and don't result in their erosion. So that was the consultation front. Now we'll get to some of the other policy work. Very briefly, there was a lot of topics we covered. So for example, last time out, we'd spoken about how the report of the JPC had been released in Parliament. Since then, there's not been much action. There were some news reports that a new version of the bill might come in. But of course, nothing's been confirmed. That's something we've continued to track. We've also actually, in keeping with our earlier series, Privacy of the People, we've tried to see how, the new version of the bill proposed by the committee, which is the Data Protection Bill 2021, would impact cookies, something that's very ubiquitous across the internet, something all of us encounter, right? Those annoying pop-ups. Consultations I've already covered. Internet access was a big thing. So IFF members, we release a bi-yearly connectivity tracker. And something that I'm very pleased to announce is that in September, in January, when we launched the first version for this year, we had data till September for the internet and telecom subscribers. And we'd actually pointed out that in September, there was a huge drop. And it had sort of that drop in telecom and internet numbers. And we'd said that drop hadn't sort of the numbers hadn't come back in October. Now that we have data for November, December, we've seen that these numbers are still at far below levels that they were on during August 2020-21. And in fact, there's been some amount of discussion over this, whether it's due to economic reasons or just old plans expiring. But this is something concerning, given that these are numbers that should generally just be on the rise. Another issue is, of course, net neutrality. So something we've constantly focused on is of course net neutrality. It's a very important part of what a fair internet should look like. And our efforts on if any of you are BSNL, no issues, Anup. If any of you are BSNL users, you may have often noticed these annoying ads that pop up. So very pleased to announce that we made a survey. We asked you guys to tell us what your issues were, and we now have made a model complaint that will soon be going up that people can use to send to BSNL. Finally, get these annoying ad injections whose effects could range from mildly harmful to extremely deleterious viruses being downloaded onto your device, finally taken down. So I think with that, I will now hand it over to my colleague Anushka Jain. Anushka, please go ahead.
Thanks, Rohan. Hi, everyone. I'm Anushka Jain, and I work as the Associate Counsel for Surveillance and Transparency at IFF. Thank you so much for joining us today. This quarter was relatively slower one for the surveillance vertical, as we took learnings from what we'd done in the last quarter, which included the launch of the Ban the Scan Hyderabad project, and we worked on long-term and mid-term projects. Before I start, I would also like to mention Shivangni Mishra, Capstone Fellow at IFF, who's been working closely with me on Project Panoptic, and Gyan Tripathi, who's managing the slideshow and who's also been working very closely with me on the transparency vertical. In terms of Project Panoptic, we filed 33 RTI requests and added 28 projects to the tracker, bringing the total to 111 projects that we're currently tracking on the website. We also had 2 Panoptic Talks, which is our series in which we try to bring awareness through issues around facial recognition. One with academics who published a paper on the harms of facial recognition, and another with reporters who've been working to increase transparency around the deployment of facial recognition. We also published detailed explainers on the Ministry of Civil Aviation's Digiyatra scheme. However, the most important thing that happened this quarter, and one which is I'm extremely excited about, is the litigation team taking learnings from the project and assisting Mr. S.Q. Masood in filing India's first legal challenge against facial recognition used by the police in Hyderabad. However, this quarter was also spent on building projects and long-term work, which I'm hoping to be able to share with you in the next quarterly call. The overall surveillance vertical, however, had more work. We analyzed the report of the JPC and how it impacted the surveillance powers of the government. We filed a criminal complaint against the hack-for-hire firm Beltrox that was banned from the Facebook platforms for surveillance for hire activities. We wrote to the DOT against the recent amendment to the Unified License Agreement, which extended the duration of storage of call and internet data records from 1 year to 2 years. And we also responded to the questionnaire that was sent to us by the Pegasus Technical Committee that is set up by the Supreme Court. And we urge them to find and fix liability for the Pegasus hack, which is the only way in which surveillance reform can happen. Coming to the transparency vertical, as all of you know, is one of our most impactful verticals, and it forms much of our policy and litigation work. Under data protection and privacy, we filed 58 RTI requests and 4 first appeals, and under free speech and censorship, we filed 41 RTIs and 18 first appeals. Some of the impactful replies that we received this quarter is, one of the replies was that the Niti Aayog saying that they started a facial recognition study for which they've allotted 23 lakhs almost to the agency that's going to conduct the study. The second one was from the Tamil Nadu police, in which they've given us a lot of information about how they're using FRT and what authorizes them to use FRT. We also got internet shutdown orders from Maharashtra, Meghalaya, Rajasthan, which helps inform much of our litigation work. However, this is just a short summary of the work we did this quarter. Please visit the IFF website at internetfreedom.in and the Panoptic website, most importantly, at panoptic.in to know more about what we were up to this quarter. And thank you all for joining us today. Now I'm going to hand it over to Tejasvi, who is also a capstone fellow at IFF, to take over for sharing with all of you a positive impact story from the work that we did this quarter. Tejasvi.
Thanks, Anushka. Good evening, everyone. So a lot of the policy team's work is directly related to community grievance redressal. Such recent instance was when a young adult reached out to us. He wanted us to take that as personal and sensitive.
I'm sorry, but your audio is not coming through clearly. If you can connect through another audio input device, maybe it may come out better.
Is this better now?
Slightly. Yes, please go ahead, Tejasvi.
Okay. So basically, I was saying a lot of the policy team's work is directly related to community grievance redressal. And one such recent instance was when a young adult reached out to us. He wanted us to help him take down his personal and sensitive information that was leaked on the internet. So we took immediate action. We emailed the company, which had mistakenly leaked his data. And within a matter of 24 hours, his data was removed from the company's database and subsequently from the internet as well. Now, as you can see from his response, even a quick short-term action taken by IFF has had a real lasting positive impact. IFF believes in helping out the community and protecting digital rights any way we can, whether it be through directly responding to redressal requests or collaborating with independent security researchers to tackle a much larger data breach. Back to you, Rohan.
Thank you, Tejasvi. Now we will take a bit of a turn and move towards the digital literacy vertical, which is headed by my colleague Ashlesh. Ashlesh, over to you.
Thank you, Rohan. Good evening, folks. It's great to see everyone here. As Rohan introduced, I am Ashlesh, Digital Literacy Fellow at IFF. So let's walk through our vertical and how our quarter has been. We at IFF believe that culture is core to affecting how people think. And therefore, literacy has always been the heart of our movement. As of today, we have a combined following of over 130,000 followers across our social media handles, which we regularly use to bridge the public policy gap, helping people make informed choices and speaking truth to power. But it's not all us. We have over 500 volunteers on record who help us carry out design, advocacy, legal, and technology-related tasks. In fact, this very deck was designed by one of our amazing volunteers, Bhavisha. So cheers to Bhavisha. Now, let's take a quick overview of what lies ahead. Gyan, can we move to the next slide? Thank you. Over the next few months, we intend to launch Project Translate, where we'll work with our community to translate IFF's infographics and primers into vernacular language so that our movement of digital rights reaches beyond the English-speaking circles. We've also started standardizing all of our communications in order to build a consistent visual identity online. Next slide, please, Gyan. And finally, we have some questions for you. Over the last few months, we've noticed that our social media engagement has been slightly stagnating. So we want to know from you, what can we do better? If you have any ideas that we can explore on social media, suggestions to help us improve and reach out to more people like you, I'm all ears. You can leave your suggestions in the comments, reach out to me at /internetfreedom.in, or you can always direct messages on any of our social media handles and you will get right to me. Looking forward to your suggestions. Thank you, Rohan. Over to you.
Thanks, Ashlesh. Now we look at digital security. And for that, I will hand it over to my colleagues, Shivani and Anup.
Thank you so much, Rohan. Hi, everyone. I head operations and digital security for IFF. It's great to see you all here. Over this call, I'm going to be focusing more on my digital security work, since operations is something that goes on and builds over time, and it has pretty much stabilized over the past 2 years at IFF. But In terms of digital security, I think when we first started the vertical out, we started during the pandemic, which also meant that we were only doing our trainings online. And in the past 1 year, we have trained people who come from very diverse backgrounds and who are working on very diverse set of issues. So we've trained lawyers, journalists, activists. But apart from that, we've also had other sectors and people from different backgrounds reaching out to us. In fact, one of the most interesting trainings, interesting workshops that we conducted this year was with ninth standard students of 2 Delhi government schools. And we covered topics like privacy, surveillance, and how digital security impacts a 14 or a 15-year-old who's largely living their lives online, particularly in light of the pandemic. And that gave us a lot of insights. The first insight there was that young people are really bright. And the need to also secure their interactions online has become really important. It's a priority for schools, for teachers, for parents, and students themselves. And whereas when we first started out, our core group that we wanted to serve with digital security was limited, we had the opportunity, and this wasn't by design, we had the opportunity to expand this to not just work with people who work in the civil society sector, but also speak to students about these issues, also speak to teachers, also speak to how people who may not work in the social impact sector view digital security and how it becomes important to them. Over our last quarterly call, when I spoke about limitations to you and the limitations that we have come across, one of the major ones was that we could only do these trainings online, which was a huge problem, right? Because sometimes you need to be in person with a group to be able to teach them. And we got a window of opportunity around December last year with COVID, when the number of cases was slightly low, and we were able to conduct our first in-person advanced digital security workshop in Hyderabad. This was led by our trainer Anup, who's also with here today with us on call. And he'll be speaking with you in just 30 seconds. And he's our newest addition to our team of digital security trainers. Another feedback that I've often got from our members, our donors, and just everyone in general is that if you're doing digital security, you need to do it in different languages. You do it in languages other than English. And I am so pleased to inform all of you that we now have the capacity to train people in digital security, both basic and advanced curriculums in English, Hindi, and Kannada as well. And I'm now going to throw it over to Anup, who's going to come in and share a little bit about his experience training people from varied technical understanding and what digital security meant to the people he had the opportunity to train. So yeah, Anup, please do go ahead.
Please do go ahead. Thank you, Shivani. Adding to what Shivani just mentioned, so initially we trained a group based out of Hyderabad. So this was an offline event, and we dealt with civil society minorities group, and each group had its own set of problems that we had to relate personally and better understand first, and then evolve our workshop materials and resources just to train them better. And another example on that was recently we did a workshop in Bangalore, and this was a particularly sensitive group. And it was based on gender equality and gender minorities group. So and also the requirement was that the workshop had to be in Kannada, so we had to translate all of our materials and workshop materials from English to Kannada and then relate to them in a better way. So the feedback that we got was that it was really helpful for them, and we actually look forward to make our trainings and materials more accessible going forward, which is what we're looking forward to as we train more organizations in the future. And also the feedback that or the learnings that I got from these trainings is that there's a general lack of awareness in this kind of group with regards to digital security, but they're all very eager to learn, which is a good thing. And also it's very rare to find regional language content on digital security, which is what we're actually actively working on as we speak. So yeah, that's been my time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anup. We'll now head to the engine of IFF, which is the fundraising vertical. Over to you, Farhanda.
Thanks, Rohin. Hi, guys. I am Farkhanda, and I would take you through our fundraising efforts over the past quarter. Fundraising hasn't been easy for us in the past quarter, and even as the pandemic seems to be coming to an end, we foresee a significant gap in our financial forecast. It has been challenging, no doubt, but our community has been supportive as always. We've received a lot of support throughout, even in non-monetary ways, and that is significant, and that's what matters the most. And as most of you already know, IFF's model is a combination of retail and institutional funding, retail being the more stable stream. This stream has become pretty much flat. I would say since the new RBI regulations came into effect, which was around 6 months ago in October 2021. And since then, fundraising has taken a hit for us. Our membership model has almost come to a halt because of the restricted methods of payment. In fact, we've raised the lowest in the past 2 months than ever through retail-based fundraising. So as you can see, one-time donations have dropped by 75, almost 70%, recurring by 57%, and our current members count stands at 183. It's dropped from a whopping 421, including the conversions. So yeah, that's where we are at. IFF has always maintained transparency about the source of funds, and they're obviously publicly accessible. And we've always told you things the way they are, and we still continue to do the same. In the past quarter, what has really kept us going are basically two things. One, institutional funding. We were able to secure a grant from UNESCO, which was again major, and an organizational donation from Nilenso. And the other is the fundraiser that we hosted in, I think back in October 2021 to raise an amount that would give us a runway for the next 6 months. And now the 6 months are over. We had hoped that by now we would be able to get our membership count back up again. But unfortunately, that's not been the case because the regulations still remain effective and the payment methods remain restricted. Can we please change the slide? Thanks, Kian. Even though it's been a challenging quarter, and as we faced a multitude of unique hurdles, like we have a new hurdle every day. So it doesn't stop our work or our fundraising efforts. We are constantly trying to overcome these issues with resilience. Over the past quarter, we have implemented alternate ways and solutions to make the processes as smooth as we possibly can, and to keep up the spirits of our community. We have implemented the physical mandates, that is paper NAC, which can now be used for setting up recurring payments at IFF. It's live already at donate.internetfreedom.in. The second one is the setting up of standing instructions. That is another way in which our members can set up recurring payments. And then there's UPI autopay. However, the success rate for that remains very, very low. The other thing that we tried over the quarter was merchandise fundraising, just another way of donor contribution methods. We partnered with brands like Frankly Wearing and No Gray Area. And we have another upcoming collaboration with Dusra to create merchandise, which in turn helped us to reach more and more people. And we were finally able to get the t-shirts done, just what our community needed to strike up a conversation about our work. So that's there. And the other thing that we have focused on at IFF is the use of technology. We believe that it can improve efficiency and bring a greater, better user experience, and hence, the donor conversion is smoother. We've been able to achieve a high level of technical stability over the past year. We have been able to migrate to safer work systems, automations are in place, payment processing systems are better, and we've also been able to build a lot of custom integrations. Now, coming to what's worked the most for us so far, hosting fundraisers. What has really benefited fundraising at IFF is our community, people vouching for our work. And they have done this in form of hosting fundraisers for us, match donations or birthday fundraisers. We have the capacity of hosting independent fundraisers directly now. This quarter, Abhay, I think he's here today. He hosted a fundraiser for us. It was a match donation, and we were able to raise around 6 lakhs with that, which was significant because this was the end of the year, fundraising was flat, and this really helped us. Along with this, many organizations have supported IFF by hosting links to IFF fundraisers on their websites like Indian Qanun. So we are very grateful for all the support that our community has offered us. So just to put it out there, if any of you want to host a fundraiser for your birthday or otherwise, or want to nominate someone to do it, please do reach out to us. We are available at donate@internetfreedom.in, or even if you want to set up time with me, we can speak at, just drop me a line at farkhanda@internetfreedom.in. I'll quickly move on to our plans for the coming quarter. We intend to get our membership count back up to around 500. That's the plan. Hopefully, we'll be able to get that done, scale up the techniques, the fundraising techniques that have worked for us in the past, diversifying our funding sources. And of course, the priority remains to strengthen the donor relationships as always. And as we're not remote anymore, we are working towards in-person meetups. That's another thing that we are developing at the moment, a series of IFF meetups across the country to introduce our work to more and more people. But that's still work in progress. And yeah, I hope to update you on that over our next call. Okay, so I know we're running out of time and I would stop this here. Over to you, Rohan. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Farkhanda. So that was our team. And once again, we are grateful for your support and we hope you continue to support us in the future. But that's enough from us now. Now we're going to hear from you guys. So the way this will work is there are a couple of questions that you have already sent us. We'll address those. And then we'll take a pause and then throw it out open completely to you where you can ask us your questions directly. So first, there's a question which is, what's the long-term plan for managing the IFF community, communicating your work to a larger lay audience, especially non-English languages? I think Ashlesh is going to answer this.
Yes, hi. So as I already mentioned in my presentation, that we are working on a project Translate, where we'll collaborate with volunteers and we'll look into how we can get our work, make sure our work reaches to more people.
Thank you, Ashlesh. Another question that you guys had sent in was that a lot of details in IFF's work can get technical, even though internet freedom affects each one of us. What do you think about hosting workshops or doing short videos to explain some basic themes and issues that you're working on? Apar, would you like to handle this?
Yeah, thank you so much, Rohan. So one thing which we discovered a little during the pandemic was that when you are able to share and explain issues of digital rights beyond lawyers, people who are interested in policy, and possibly technologists, people who are already sensitized to the kind of work we do, you kind of help expand the community. So we are going to focus on it. Most of it is going to be through digital methods. However, we are also planning, depending on the pandemic and how it ends or physical meetings resume, to also explore safely how we can start doing in-city meetups. And in terms of our digital modes of outreach, what we are planning is that it needs to be more vernacular. This has been consistent feedback, and to make it a reality, now that we have a small office here in CR Park in Delhi, thanks to our donors, to set up a small wall where we can have some video facility where we can make these kind of short explainers. Our learning has also been that it needs to be vernacular. It needs to be done, which is something which is very simply put across in audio visual format, moving beyond the textual format, which we are already employing. So guys, we are working on that a little, but it may take some time for it to become much more sustainable over a longer period of time. And here, what I would really appreciate, and you have my email, apara@internetfreedom.in, is your advice, your offers of help, because I know a lot of you know this better than I do.
Thank you, Apar. Another question that you guys had sent in was on aid for small businesses. Can the digital Patrika clinics provide help on the legal front for small businesses and individuals? Doesn't need to be pro bono, even a paid legal service with specialization in this would be of great help. Anandita, why don't you handle this?
Yeah, thank you so much, Rohan. Happy to take that. So the clinic actually is already providing pro bono support to small organizations and individuals on issues of digital rights. So two of the examples I can give you is of Live Law. That's a website which reports legal news. We are representing them in the Kerala High Court on a right to be forgotten matter. Another matter is where we are representing Tanul Thakur. He's a journalist who just made a satirical dowry calculator website, which was taken down by the government. We are representing him in the Delhi High Court. So we do offer pro bono assistance on issues of digital rights. And when issues do not pertain to digital rights, we've managed to grow a small network of lawyers throughout the country. And we can always refer you to our lawyers who can probably take up issues which do not concern digital rights.
Thank you, Anandita. So there's one question we got on the live stream. I'll try and address that right now. As technologists, we can also contribute. What are the ways to support? Can spend few hours every night. So I'll handle this. We need your help. On technical issues, we certainly need your help because in a lot of these matters, we aren't the experts here. So, for example, on the AI consultation, we would have sort of required some sort of technical inputs to help improve the quality of our submission. And so to that, I would say, firstly, we have a volunteer database that we maintain. Please write to us if you wish to help us. It would be of tremendous assistance to us. Additionally, if you, as on your own, if you see some sort of policy that you want to explain or help, analyze or even contribute some comments on, do not hesitate to reach out to us. You can write to the policy team itself. It's policy@internetfreedom.in. We would appreciate all of your help. With that, to those of you who are watching this online, we are going to stop the live stream now. Thank you for being with us.